Just a quick example here of how we can create clothing for Genesis figures using Carrara and DAZ Studio 4.5 or better. I'm using 4.7 Pro. I keep it updated with DAZ Install Manager. With this exercise, I'm going to start with Genesis 2 base male. So I have it already loaded up in here to help save time with our little tutorial here. And also to save some time, I've created myself a base scene and have it saved right here in my objects tab, right in this top my objects space, so that it shows up right away when I open Carrara and switch to the objects tab. It's called Genesis 2 male and female modeling base here, and it has both the Genesis 2 base male and Genesis 2 base female loaded up in there, and then I have some other assets just to help with the tutorial here. I have them both invisible at the moment. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that I went ahead and optimized shaders for them and created some lighting, just because I think that sometimes it may be important to see what the clothing looks like with an actual correct shader situation and some realistic lighting. And with this simple setup here, I'm using gamma correction at 2.2, and then I'm also using the skylight and indirect light with ambient occlusion, just to be quick about it, with light through transparency on there. And then just the base textures that came loaded on the base figure, and then optimize them for Carrara. So we've got that going for us, and a couple of cameras set up. We have both the face cam and camera 1, just to help us in our endeavors. Okay, and the realistic sky allows me to use the sunlight, and I have these other distant lights here and the sunlight back over in this corner, so they're easy for me to adjust. And then just save that scene out, and now I have a base to start with. And then down here under people, and then I have a Genesis tab, and then modeling. I put modeling in there, and this is this exercise right here, and I can save all of my projects in here as I, so I can always get back to the latest. It's always good to save them. As a matter of fact, I'll often create more subfolders inside this modeling thing, so I can save several iterations of each project as I'm going, so I can make custom morphs to help fit. Like, say I create a nice shirt for this guy here, and it doesn't quite work with if I crank up the gorilla morph, and I really want it to work when I crank up the gorilla morph. I can alter this mesh to fit the gorilla morph, and then import that OBJ into DAZ Studio and add it to this shirt as a morph. For the auto follow, instead of using the auto follow, it'll follow the new mesh that I've just made, installed as a hidden morph on here. Let's get started here. I like to go in the director's camera because modeling takes a lot of work. And let's go to camera 1. And now let's say this is the shirt I've created, and I need it to become a conforming item for Genesis. Now I didn't actually model this. I've removed the skeleton from it just to show you. Now let's just say that I wanted to transfer this and make it into a conforming item. Like right now, if I go like this, it's not a conforming figure. If I actually go to pose my figure, it won't follow at all. Right? It's just a model at this point. So how do we fix that? We take the shirt and we export it, and I'm just going to call it shirt, and I have a folder structure set up for myself in the DAZ Studio library. A lot of artists actually make a second library for each new item that they have, so they can just take the entire structure that ends up being created, and that's the product. It's ready to just drag into here and be, to install it, and it's ready to go. So that's something to keep in mind, is you can just add a new thing. But I like to just keep track of everything that gets added and where it gets added, and I take care of it from there. But I'll probably take that workflow that they're talking about. Anyway, I'm going to save this out as shirt tut. There we go. And I don't want to save it as a Carrara file. I want to save it as a wavefront OBJ. And we'll save that. And we're going to go ahead and use the DAZ Studio. All of this. We don't really want any textures, but you might. Let's just go ahead and leave everything else at its default and click OK. And now let's go ahead and go into DAZ Studio, where we already have Genesis 2 male, and now we're going to import that shirt. Okay, all you have to do is navigate to your folders. It's very important that you get to know where your folders are and what's going on with your content at all times. We've got Carrara, and I'm just going to leave everything else at its defaults. Even though I used DAZ Studio as my export, I'm pretty sure that since it was in Carrara, what I need to do is, yes, 1 unit equals 1 inch. So that's what I'm going to use to import it again, and there it is. What we need to do is select the shirt tutorial, and okay, we can't fit it to anything right now, so let's fix that. Let's go edit, and then we're going to go to object, transfer utility. We'll make the source Genesis 2 male, the target shirt tutorial. Let's go ahead and show some options. We're going to fit it to the source figure. All of this stuff I'm just going to leave default. Everything looks good. We can add a smoothing modifier if we want. Let's go ahead and click accept. And now we can see that our shirt is fit to the Genesis 2 male. Okay, what does that mean? That means that we can now pose our figure and it will follow. And see now where you can see a little bit of poke through. Oh, and it corrects. It corrected that poke through. So undo that. However, what you can do from here, optimize the weight maps. DAZ Studio has automatically created weight maps according to the figure that it was transferred to. It's going to do its best guess at where the weight maps are painted, how strong they are in certain places. But now you can go in and set stiff areas and change the buttons to be all hard, and it may have done that already, but you can really get detailed in that, and that's beyond the scope of this tutorial. The DAZ Studio site, they have written tutorials that are very nice to follow, and there's also some products out there as far as tutorials that you can get to get really specific on what kind of outcome you want. Anyway, now we've got this shirt. How can we use this shirt now? We can go File, Save As, and we go way down here to Support Asset, and this is going to be a figure asset. Okay, so you just pick the one that makes the most sense. They did a good job of naming conventions. And figure asset, we're going to select that one, and let's see, we want to go in people, Genesis 2 male, clothing, Dartan Beck, and let's just call this thing shirt underscore tut. Okay, and we'll just save that as a DAZ user file, and we're going to do all of this kind of stuff. Leave it all. I'm just going to leave it all. Let's just click accept. Leave everything at its default. Let's go back into Carrara. Let's go to content and Genesis 2 male. So I'm going to update that folder, and now I'm going to hide this shirt and come down here to Genesis 2 male, clothing, Dartan Beck, and here's the shirt toot. So I'm going to select Genesis 2 male, double click on this, and it's going to project morphs, and it is now auto fit. Should be, yep, it's auto fit to my Genesis 2 male. So now I can see what I'm saying. Now keep in mind, when you're doing your actual like animation or render work and stuff like that, keep in mind that Genesis uses subdivision smoothing. Okay, and by default they leave that at 0 in the object, when you're in the viewport when you're working, but when you render it out, it has 2 levels of subdivision. So if you could see the polygons of this guy the way he is, I could actually show you that. We're just going to have to click OK. And so a subdivision level 1 smoothing will turn each polygon into 4 polygons. Okay, so you get really tiny little ones. Well, with it set at 2, all of those little, each one of those 4 polygons that's in here gets turned into 4. And instead of just adding the polygons, or dividing the polygons I should say, it's also adding a curve, a smoothing curve, unless there's a crease angle applied to it. So a subdivision smoothing level of 2 is really smooth. And just keep that in mind, because if you put on some clothing and it doesn't quite look like it fits, or say it does look like it fit, but then all of a sudden it doesn't look like it fits in the render, it's likely because of the fact that the smoothing levels are off. So we see right here that there is no smoothing on there. Let's try something real quick. Let's delete that. Then I'm going to go Edit, Remove Unused Objects. And I'm going to go back into DAZ Studio. I'm going to select this shirt, and I'm going to go Edit, Figure. Where is it? It's in here. Geometry, Convert to Sub D. and resolution level. Okay, it's high resolution. Now let's go File, Save As, Support Asset, Figure Asset. We'll just overwrite this one. Okay, now I'm going to come back into Carrara. I'm going to select Genesis 2 Mail. Just to make sure, I'm going to update this folder. And I'm going to double click on it. Okay, see, now the shirt has the same subdivision sliders here, so it will match whatever you set on here. So let's just say that I only want, let's just set my render level to 0. Let's just say that this is just fine enough for me. That looks great. So now I can do the same thing with the shirt. Yeah, I'm going to collapse that a little. I can do the same thing with the shirt to make it match. And now we can shoot a render, see what happens. Using the slightly more sophisticated lighting and stuff in here gives it a little bit more render time, but that was fast enough for me. I'm pretty happy with that. But there you go. That's how easy it is. Okay, now I just purchased a new item that I want to point out to you guys. Let's just take this whole thing and make it invisible. Now let's turn her on, and let's say that we want to give her that shirt. Okay, let's just take this whole thing and go like that. Okay, so it is part of that. Alright, now we want to give that shirt to her. What happens now? Can we do it? It's going to project some morphs, and it's going to do its best. Okay. Nope, that's not right. Okay, so how can we fix that? Let's go like this. Go back into DAZ Studio here. Let's select Genesis 2 Male and go to the cross figure parameter and crank this up to Genesis 2 Female. Okay, crank that up to 100. Now we're going to go to the shirt, and we have to go to the content library and come back over this way to where we see scripts, utilities, cross figure setup. Double click that. Cross figure setup is complete. Okay. Now what we have to do is File, Save As, Support Asset, Morph Assets. Yes, Morph Assets, and make sure that this is in the right spot. Okay. Oh, we have to come here. Make sure that everything, there we go. The thing that you have to make sure is selected are these 3 morphs. Okay, and you can find those morphs over here. Anyway, this is what you need to make sure is selected. I'm sorry, this is the first time I've gone through this. Sorry if it's taking too long. Let's hit accept. Okay, now we can save the whole. Oh, I don't even think you have to save the shirt anymore because you've just saved the asset. So let's go back to Carrara once and test that theory, and we'll update this folder. I'm not sure if you have to do that because it's the same file anyway, but I'm just doing that. So let's just take this guy and delete him, and then let's go edit, remove unused objects. Okay, now we're going to select her again and then double click on this, and it's going to project morphs, and we come to actor parameters. Oh, maybe it's not actor, it's shirt parameter, and the other two are hidden. What we need is this one, and look at that. Amazing, right? Isn't that is a vast improvement to what we've just the last time I tried doing this to her. Okay, and that's a darn nice shirt for her. In this project, what I'm going to be doing next is taking this shirt, and I'm going to try, and this is Hong Yu's Victoria 5 shirt, and Victoria 5 is Genesis 1. I'm using Genesis 2 female for my character, so I'm going to try and convert this into a Genesis 2 female shirt. But in order to do that, I think my best option is going to be get rid of that, is going to be reshaping this shirt to fit the Genesis 2 male. Okay, and in order to do that, what I need to do is take select actor, and first what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab this name, copy, and I'm going to rename actor that same name there. And while I have the actor selected, I'm going to go animation, detach skeleton. Okay, and now I can remove this from its skeleton group. Oops, I didn't mean to there we go. And then I can take this whole system here and delete it, and now we have basically just a vertex object, except of course its topology is going to be protected. So once I get into modeling mode, I have to come into view and deselect protect topology. Are you sure? Yes. The neat part about clicking yes on that stuff is the fact is you always have a backup as long as you don't overwrite your original files. And even if you do overwrite your original files by accident, you can always go back to your DAZ account and download them again. But what this project is going to entail is refitting this as best I can to fit the base Genesis 2 male, and then going through that same process that I just went through with this shirt toot, and try and make this shirt fit, eventually come in and fit the Genesis 2 female, and hopefully it'll be good enough to work on my my hero character, who's vastly different than the Genesis 2 female. So I may have to make some corrective morphs from that as well, which will be a little more difficult than your regular workflow with the Genesis 2 female, because every time you click edit on a shirt that's fit for a male, even if it has a morph to make it into a female, it's going to default back to its original shape. But anyway, that's enough for this tutorial, and you guys have a a great evening or day or whatever time it is when you're watching this, and I'll be back with more requests for tutorials. Thanks. Bye.